Hello again everyone, welcome back to another episode of Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. My name is Mars, and today we're going to be doing a little bit of a trial guide for Scorn of the Octopus and the Teacher. And I know normally I do my little stylized videos and stuff like that where I just, I fight the boss and kind of let the viewers figure out what I did. But this fight actually had a little bit more to it than I originally thought, so I kind of wanted to break down a more refined strategy. After I took it down the first time, I noticed a few things, broke it down, and found a few ways to kind of improve upon what I did in my original video to kind of help people out, figure out how to make it a little bit easier for themselves. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the choices that I made, some of the options that are out there, and then you can decide for yourself what makes the most sense. So for me, I know a lot of people out there are seeing physical tanks and physical cover tanks, but we're not running that. I found it's actually easier to use someone who is a dedicated provoke tank. And I'm not using draw attacks specifically in case I need to kind of control aggro in phase 2, and we'll talk more about that later. But I'm using Knight Noel. You can use Wilhelm, you can use Mercenary Ramza, you can use Sieghard. Anybody who has provoke, that's all you need. They don't need a cover skill, so you could even use Elfrida. You could also use Victor Marchenko. Both of those also work, but having provoke is significantly more important than having cover. In fact, you can beat this whole trial without cover. So for me, I picked Knight Noel. And I just built him with some elemental resistance, as you can see here, as well as just general beefiness. So mine is pretty thick. So the chances of him dying are basically none. Now, accompanying him is Zargabaath. Zargabaath, I'm using him for the general mitigation. If you wanted to use another mitigation buffer, you could consider somebody like Sieghard or somebody else who has access to strong mitigation, like Nickel as well. And one of the things that was important for me to put on Zargabaath was 100% thunder resistance, so that when we're going into phase 2, he is still alive. And in addition to that, I have equipped the Lion Saber so that we have wind and earth equipped, so that in phase 2, when Typhon is ready to sneeze us away, Zargabaath can just bap him real quick on the head with the Lion Saber and make him change his mind. Other than that, he does just have some other elemental resistance. You honestly don't need much. Elemental resistance is probably not that required. Most important is this thunder resist, and that's why there's a whole lot of other elemental resist stuff. So Zodiac Escuchan is basically all you need to make it happen. But yeah, because as you'll see, like Knight Noel only has 40%, he'll be fine. Zargabaath, it was just really important for him to survive, and I was struggling with it before. So Myra, she is going to be my healer in this fight. The reason that I'm choosing Myra is because I like her ability to do raises with healing at the same time, and also to be able to do entrusts with healing. So in her case, she's also built up with a lot of elemental resistance, but I mean, the one that matters the most again is thunder, because going into phase 2, you need it. Otherwise, you have to start that phase probably with her dead. Yeah. And that's the case for most people in this fight. So going with that. Other than that, status immunity is nice just in case she has to be the person to cleanse it. Other than that, basically just elemental resistance. Now Sylvie is also in this fight, and you'll see she'll probably go down in phase 2 because her thunder resistance is not super high. But other than that, she's built just with some generic elemental resistance, as well as some LB generation with the Bowie knife, and that's about it. She's just built for LB generation, even though I don't actually use it that much. I could build her tankier if I wanted to. And then we're using Zeno in this video. I used Esther in the previous one. Esther's probably the best damage dealer in the game to take on this fight. But if you don't have Esther, no big deal. You can use pretty much any damage dealer. A lot of people requested I use Zeno in another video of this trial, so, we're going to go and take him for a spin. Some elemental resistance is helpful. That's why I have Knight's Metal equipped, but it is not required, because as you'll see, I think our friend unit does not have it. And also, this is the most ridiculous Zeno I think I've ever seen. Yeah, 2 Searing Embers, excuse me, with 2 Storm Kickers, yeah, this is just ridiculous. Like, they're just like, yeah, I have a free slot here, let's throw Adamantine in there. So anyways, the elemental resistance on this one is not very high either. And I'm also opting to have Diabolus equipped, because if you equip Leviathan for Aquan Killer, you're going to make it harder to survive thunder damage going into phase 2. But again, that's a minor thing. So built for Demon Killer and Aquan Killer, and that's about all there is to it. So let's jump into the fight. So yeah, basically the premise of this fight is we're going to be provoking only. Yeah, because covering stuff will get your physical tank killed, and covering magic doesn't actually help that much. I mean, we're still probably going to cover magic because it will, you know, it'll help things out, but what matters most in this entire fight is having provoke up at the right time. So turn 1, get that up. Zargabaath's turn 1, mitigation and buffs. Bada bing, bada boom. Sylvie's going to go ahead and do, I think on this first turn, I'm trying to remember what I do. Elemental resistance and break removal and resistance. So now we're good to go with the elemental resistance. And then Myra is going to go ahead and do intro with healing. Really helpful to have regens out on the party in this fight, especially because without a physical tank, and this is the trade-off. So if you use a physical cover tank, you probably need to either have 2 cover tanks or re-raise, because there's a gravity type attack that will kill them every few turns. The trade-off, of course, is that your damage dealers then don't have to take the counter attacks. But in this case, since we're not doing physical cover, our damage dealers have to take counters. Now, if you're using Esther or Zeno even, you probably don't care that much about counters because they don't hurt badly enough. And I'm going to use kind of a modified rotation from what I normally do, because it is kind of hard to generate all the LB crystals you need to fully fill your LB on Zeno, so I'm just going a slightly different rotation to help give similar damage. And we're just going non-elemental right now. You can see the boss is susceptible to physical damage, and he'll alternate between damage type susceptibility, but this turn we're just going to do some non-elemental. Nice, a whole 2%. And those regens from Myra are super helpful, and you can see the magic damage is doing basically nothing. Even our Zenos who have no or very little. Mine has a little. My friend Zeno has no equipped water resistance, and he's totally fine. One of the things that you can do at any point if you're, you know, ready to do some damage on the boss, Sylvie is really nice for imbuing, so that's one thing that is helpful about having her. I think we did Acuity last turn, so we want to do Disorder, and then we want to do Roar. I think I may be doing this wrong, so Zeno fans, you're welcome to correct the way I'm kind of running this, because I know it's not the most optimal rotation, but Orthos with his like resistance swapping can actually screw up your rotation anyway, so it doesn't really matter that much. I was going for the manual spark chain, but I didn't quite get it. Now, it doesn't matter who you use as your damage dealers. The premise of what we're doing will basically still be the same. Zargabaath can do Prismatic Barrier that gives a slightly better elemental resistance, although it's not really necessary. But yeah, basically with other damage dealers, it will just take a little bit longer. So we're going to go ahead and continue our song. I could entrust if I want to. I think I'm going to entrust to Zargabaath just because his limit burst is a little bit harder to get up. And entrusting with her enables us to... It gives her LB fill rate up, so that's why I'm activating even though it's not a full entrust. Now with Knight Noel, I'm going to stick to what I said, and we're just going to do provokes only, because we don't need the magic cover. The magic cover is nice, but it's not necessary. And it would help, because, you know, Knight Noel would jump in front of that damage, and he would do counters and stuff like that. But for all intents and purposes, it really doesn't matter. Now that Earth-looking attack is a Graviga sort of attack where it does fixed HP damage, and that's the attack that your physical tanks jump in front of and die to. So that's why I'm not using physical cover, because they would die right there. And I don't really want to fuss with re-raise. You absolutely can if you want to, but I don't want to, so I'm not going to. Now you'll see the boss has alternated to being resistant to... Wait. Did he alternate? Am I blind? Nope, he's still the same. Resistant to magic attacks, but he's also resistant to thunder. So we may have a little bit of difficulty doing damage since we are imbued. So I'm not going to worry about it. We're just going to build our stacks, and I'm going to activate this mixed mitigation for Sylvie. Let's go ahead and put in there with everything else. Knight Noel, you can just defend again. It's all good. All good, no big deal. Zargabaath. Actually, this turn was Zargabaath because I probably won't have his LB up. I'm going to use mitigation this turn, and then buffs the following turn. And we're going to do outro with more healing. Good to go. Zenos are just going to be doing stack building because the boss is being a jerk, and we only need to single cast it. No need to bother with chaining because it's going to be resisted. We don't have any thunder imperils, unfortunately. You could use, you know, an imperiler, or you could dispel the enemy. In fact, I may as well do that. I don't like losing out on my moves. But you can see, with provokes only, we're 100% fine. Like, the party has not been in any jeopardy whatsoever. In fact, it actually frees up Myra if she's like, yeah, I want to throw a holy torch at the boss, so that the Zenos can have a nice little bursty burst. We can do that. So we can go ahead and try that, see how much damage we can get. We may actually be able to kill him this turn. One thing to keep in mind is that once, just in case we kill him this turn, I'll explain it now. We may kill the boss right now, so it won't be relevant for this run. But if Orthos is beneath 50%, oh heck it, we're just gonna burst him a little bit slowly. We're just gonna, oh, did he swap resistances? Resistance to magic attacks. Oh, apparently you can't dispel. Okay, you can't dispel that. Well, perfect. Anyways, when you drop below 50%, he will start berserking random party members, and you can provoke it, which is what you want to do, which is why we're doing provoke only. It doesn't disrupt covers. It doesn't disrupt anything else. Just make sure your provoke is activated every turn when you're beneath 50%. So every free turn with your provoke tank, just re-up that provoke. And the nice thing is that most provoke skills are pretty inexpensive in terms of MP to cast. Now that ability that looked like Tornado, that was another one of those gravity style attacks. And even though it looks like it just hits a whole bunch of times, it actually is just a gravity skill that physical tanks would jump in front of as well. And it usually kills them even through re-raise. So, alright, so we're resistant to physical attacks this turn. That's kind of a bummer, because we have triple cast, but we can't do anything with it. So we're just going to go ahead and... actually, what we're going to do is we're going to make sure all of our little buffy doos are refreshed, because it's a little bit hard to keep track of all these. And actually, the thing that I could do, if I want my limit burst up, I could just triple my LB fill attack. Which one is that? Doody-doody-doo. Deal damage, fill LB for all allies. Oh, that's kind of nice. Okay. See, this is how much I've used Zeno. I basically did a tour of destruction and then haven't used him since. I'm sorry. So we'll go ahead and fill some LBs for themselves. That's kind of cool. That's very flashy. I like that. Let's see. Just more. It's pretty. It's honestly super chill, even without a cover tank, because you just keep provoking, keep defending, no problems whatsoever. And we just got to keep that element resistance up. We got to keep the mitigation up. See, with Sylvie this turn, I'm gonna activate some bigger buffs with Watch Over Me, and what else am I gonna do? I mean, we're in good shape, man. Not scary. Orthos is not doing anything to us at all. With that combination of mitigation, elemental resistance, we're totally fine. See, having a good provoker, that's more important than anything else, because like your average provoke tank, they're gonna take a lot of damage from that. But Knight Noel tanks all of that, and then he has MP to spare to just keep provoking. So that's why I chose him for it, but you can use any of the other provoke tanks for it. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and do Acuity and Disorder again. Keep those little bonus modifiers stacked up. Disorder, even though we're not gonna do any damage this turn, it's totally fine. We're gonna provoke again, and then yeah, the hard part is that at this point we're not really generating a lot of LB crystals, so we kind of just gotta deal with what we're dealt. What else do I want to do? I have another move. I don't know what else to do with it. Let's just go with, let's do the attack magic buff. That'll give us some LB boost, which we could use. Zargabaath this turn. Let's just do prismatic barrier, and then Myra can go ahead and sing, heal. Boom. We're good to go. Alright, so now we should be able to hurt Orthos next turn. See, I don't know why I was afraid of this boss at any point in time. He's not scary. He's not doing anything threatening. Okay, we should be able to hurt him this turn. Yeah, there was that gravity attack again, and he does those every 3 turns. So you just gotta be aware when those are coming. Not that it's a huge deal. All right, we should be able to just blow him up this turn. I think probably. Let's give it a little go. Oh, we don't need to dual cast it because it's just roar. Let's just do roar. And before I pull the trigger, I do want to make sure everybody's topped off so that when we go into the next fight, we're good to go. So I'm going to make sure White Knight Noel has some MP, and then the other thing I want to do is make sure... Oh no, we don't need to do elements. We did it last turn with Zargabaath. Most important thing, we got to make sure he's got some MP. Break resist is on this turn. Zargabaath, Word of Law is fine. I just want the attack to be the last move of the turn. Boop. And then White Knight Noel's, even though, you know, he doesn't necessarily... Well... Yeah, we'll try and kill the boss. If we need to provoke with White Knight Noel, we'll do it, but we probably don't need to. Okay, let's go. That was not... Oh, because I'm not imbued with thunder. Okay, that's why. Yeah. Last time I did a lot more damage because I was imbued with thunder, but this turn, not as much, and that's totally fine. We're not struggling for damage. We're not struggling to survive. We're doing great. Not a concern in the world. White Knight Noel's got us covered. Well, he doesn't have us covered. He has us provoked. Thank you, White Knight Noel, for your service. Okay, so once again, similar principle. We wanted to make sure everybody's top just in case we push. Playlist, hit single, and we'll just do intro for whatever reasons. And then we'll just blow up the boss. He shouldn't survive this. But in case he does, now we're just going to ensure that he does not. We're just going to give ourselves thunder damage. Again, this is optional. You can see we still do plenty of damage non-elementally, but thunder when he's susceptible, because you'll see he puts up a thunder imperil on himself. So it's like, all right, this is great. Let's just hit him with that thunder damage. Easy. All right, so he's dead. And we're about to get hit pretty hard. If my math calculations of smartness are correct, we're going to lose all the people on the right side of the party. Sylvie and both Zenos are probably going to die. Yep, Zargabaath should barely survive, and we're good to go. It looks a little rough, doesn't it? But we're actually going to be totally fine. What we need to do is, with Myra, we want to use full life on everybody, and then we're going to go ahead and do some healing to make sure that Zargabaath doesn't go down. So we're good to go. Zargabaath's going to use... We're actually going to use Arcadia's Might. I know we can get a better result out of his LB, but we're going to use Might this turn just so that we have one more turn of flexibility in case we need it. And then we're just going to provoke with White Knight Noel. Provoke only. No covers here. We can do magic cover if we want, but it's not really what we need. What we need is that provoke goodness. As you can see, this is hurting our provoke tank quite a lot. White Knight Noel is, you know, one of the best when it comes to, you know, provoke damage or provoke, you know, mitigation. He is one of the best at it, and he gets hit pretty hard. But I think this method just tends to be, I don't know, it feels quite reliable to me in terms of like, okay, I don't have to worry about juggling a re-raise. I don't have to worry about a lot of things with this strategy. Actually, I'm going to hold out on the LB, or the intro. So we're just going to go intro. Intro is fine. White Knight Noel can defend this turn, and then I wasn't watching, so I don't think we're going to get a snort from this dude this turn. But just in case, I wanna blap him. This is with the wind and earth weapon, so blapping him on the nose like that will help make sure that he does not snort anyone away. Now, if I didn't happen to have a weapon, you know, to allow me to seal that, or an attack to allow me to seal that, I would just probably like provoke with Zargabaath or something like that, and just have it go onto him, let him go away for a couple turns, and then come back. But we'd prefer not to because we used White Knight Noel's provoke. So we'd prefer to keep White Knight Noel in the fight because he is helping us keep things together. But you can see we're taking an extremely manageable amount of damage. Yep. Bingo. Perfect. This is fixed damage with the earth attack. And we're fine. No problems. Now, White Knight Noel did get sleeped. I think he got sleep-did, which is fine. That's one of Sylvie's other jobs, is to help us out with that. No big deal. We can remove it. And then I want to throw up physical mitigation on the party. That will help us a little bit with the incoming damage. And then I'm pretty sure it's this turn that he's going to snort us, so Zargabaath is going to just nose blap him again, so that we're good to go. Why did I know I was going to defend? Because holy crap, that hurt. Playlist. I always forget what all this stuff does. So this does do a heal, because we want to do big fat heals this turn. Because Knight Noel is kind of low. I mean, we're in good shape. We've got a lot of mitigation up. We've got a lot of stuff going on. I'm trying to remember what I did last time. I think I need to do Disorder. Yeah, Disorder and Roar. Disorder and Roar. Those are the two I got to do this turn, I think. Because I may be able to get my LB up for both Zenos. I would prefer them to come at the same time and chain them, but, you know, we'll work with what we got. Ooh, a Spark Chain. This should do some tasty damage. Both of mine are built, or both of these are built with Diabolos, so we've got a fair amount of Demon Killer coming out the gate. Now this obviously will be a lot more challenging to pull off with DPS that aren't as tanky as Zeno or Esther or some of these, or Sabin. Sabin is actually really great for this fight as well, because he's also extremely tanky naturally. Alright, so you can see nobody's been snorted because Zargabaath did some nice nose blapping for us. We're going to go ahead and do the Alexander Crest, get our big mitigation up, provoke again, and then she wasn't up first turn, so we have another turn before we have to reactivate our elemental resistance. So we're just going to do a defensive barrier and magic mitigation. That was the one that we didn't have yet, so we're going to go ahead and do that. And then Myra can go ahead and outro, hit single for us, easy. Let me remember. Okay, we got to do True Mirror and Equity's Roar. True Mirror, Roar. And this should take out Typhon. And you do want to kill Typhon first, because he has the most onerous mechanics to deal with. So I definitely recommend taking him out first, if you're using, you know, a single target damage dealer like we are with Zeno. When you have Esther, you kind of just kill everything indiscretionately. And now kind of from here on out, it's basically a repeat of that first phase. It is pretty easy because, as you can see, at no point have we had cover tanks. Nobody has gone down except from preemptive attacks. Now, you know, the party is built pretty tankily, and, you know, if you have to sacrifice some attack to make that happen, you know, do what you gotta do. But as you can see, it has been totally worth it. Because, you know, everybody's been totally fine. Nobody's gone down. Let's see, provoke. See, and I say that, and it's probably going to jinx me, but it's okay. Let's see. Yeah, I'll have the Zenos do some LB fill so that I can get their limit bursts off. That'll give us a little more damage. Some heals, and... Is there someone I want to entrust? Oh, yeah, Zargabaath. I want to entrust Zargabaath because that limit burst is too good. Oh, yeah, because we have triple again. Oh. Silly Zeno. Always getting his triple on turns where Orthos just ignores him. He'd be like, oh, triple damage, it's going to be so good. And then you activate it, and the boss just, like, forgets that you're there. And it's so flashy, too. And that would have, like, been a spark chain and everything. It would have been perfect, but alas. Alas. I'm going to do Prismatic Barrier, because that slightly better elemental buffs. And you can do, you know, you can use Sylvie's LB if you want better elemental buffs as well. But, you know, haven't needed to so far. Let's see. What's our turn count on provoke? We've got 2 turns, so we're just going to defend this turn. Makes it a little easier to survive. Not that it's really a problem, because Knight Noel's eating it like a champ. Now, if you do, I think you'll find that in some ways, you know, Knight Noel is going to do better than other tanks for provoking, because he does have the split mitigation types. Other tanks may not do as well, because their mitigation types are either general or otherwise. But you do, if you have the option to do different types of mitigation stacked up on your party, you definitely want to go for it, because Zargabaath's limit burst stacks with the provoke mitigation on Knight Noel, but not on the provoke mitigation for like Mercenary Ramza or Wilhelm. But it does stack with like Sieghard, for example. So, you know, go into it knowing your mitigations. Know who can benefit from it the most. Okay, playlist. Hit single. Oh, not intro. We did that. I thought we did intro last turn. Am I crazy? Oh no, we didn't, because we did entrust instead, so we lost out. And I think we have another turn for provoke. Not that we could use it anyways, because I don't think that, yeah, that ability did not give us MP. So we'll just defend again. No big deal. Got a ton of HP. We've got barriers. Good to go. Oh no, look at all these attacks that we're not covering. Like, party doesn't even notice. It's been a while since we've had a fight that we could just go in with a straight up provoke tank and handle it. And so I've enjoyed this strategy because now I don't have to fuss with re-raising my tank. I don't have to fuss with like some of that aggravating stuff that I would otherwise have to do. In this case, you know, we just focus on damaging the boss, lots and lots of buffs. It's a lot, in my opinion, it's very satisfying. Alright, so we do need some MP for Knight Noel. Actually, no, we don't. Knight Noel is fine. He has everything he needs. 27. Now, we may be able to, let's see. We would just do 2 roars. I'm curious how much damage it will do. It will do a lot, but I don't think it will kill the boss. Oh, it was a spark chain. Let's see. Yeah, no KO on the boss. You're going to get to see the berserk stuff, which I think is good. Because below 50%, it's just like before where you're going to start seeing berserk. No, I don't think... Zargabaath doesn't really have to do anything this turn. So I'm going to reactivate mitigation. Now, one other thing to keep in mind is that I don't know all of the specifics for the different, like the snort, counter, sealing sort of stuff against Typhon, because I haven't had to really deal with it. But Zargabaath has wind and earth taken care of with the lion saber, but also if you need to do light, because I know light is one of the other counterable ones. You can counter that using his Word of Law, because that does light damage in addition to providing the damage mitigation. So that's my recommendation if you're like, if you want to have, you know, your sealer all rolled up into one person, you just use Zargabaath and he's got your back. Zargabaath always has your back anyways. That's just what he does. But anyways, there you go. That is the Scorn of the Octopus and the Teacher, featuring only a provoke tank. And the reason why I did it this way, you know, as I said, is because I don't like having to work around, you know, I'll re-raise the tank, and then they have to cover, and then they have to provoke, and then you have to use 2 tanks because one of them gets snorted, or because one of them gets this, or one of them gets berserked, or whatever. No, just use 1 provoke tank, use 2 supports to keep fat mitigation and buffs and resistances on your party, and the rest is history. So let me know what you guys think of this strategy for the fight. I know it is really unorthodox for us to run no cover tanks, especially at this stage in the game. So let me know what you thought of today's video down in the comments below, and I will see everybody in the next one.